In 2022, we have had 3 different bear flags here on Bitcoin. The first one starting back here in January, we had another one back here in May, and then we just finished playing one out. The only thing is this one is very different because we just broke through the resistance rather than going out and playing to the downside. Now that we have a change in pace, this whole video is going to be showing you the 2 biggest factors you're going to need to be looking at when trying to determine what the next move for Bitcoin price is going to be. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Over the last week, Bitcoin has climbed ever since this date right here. Right here, we had a 9.1 inflation reading, which I, along with a lot of the market, thought that this would result in bearish action and the play out of this little bear flag. But actually, it ended up having the exact opposite reaction, moving to the upside, growing Bitcoin over the last week by about 25%. And at the moment, there's a good chance we can go ahead and keep on climbing. However, there are 2 big things that we got to cover, and let's start with the first one, and that is that we are now 7 days away from the Fed announcement. That's right. We had those historic numbers of 9.1. Inflation is still out of control. However, what matters more to the crypto market and specifically to Bitcoin is what the FOMC decides. We've been looking at this tool over here on investing.com that is giving us predictions about what that result could be. And if any of you guys are wondering why the Bitcoin price is continuing to rise, despite the fact that inflation is sitting ridiculously high right now, you got to remember that Bitcoin, along with other commodities, are utilized in times to fight against the dying dollar. So it's actually when the dollar gains back strength that we see Bitcoin and commodities begin to come back down. But when we're seeing things happen that actually continue to show the death of the dollar, those are the signs we're looking for to go up. And whereas last month, a 75 basis point hike was actually very hawkish, meaning it was probably bearish for the Bitcoin price, this month it looks like the charts have already kind of baked in that as a prediction. And unless something changes and goes with that 33% that are predicting 100 basis points, it looks like potentially we could see Bitcoin continue to climb over this next week and potentially even just start to move sideways rather than going back down to those teens. So going back over to the charts, there's a couple different indicators I want to stress to you guys that we have to be looking at when we're trying to discuss potentially what could the next price spot be for Bitcoin to reject during this climb. The first one, pulling up this VPVR, is that we've actually cleared a lot of different levels of resistance on the volume. The most important one was this level right here at about 23,300, which is the wick back here that we had on June 14th. By clearing this and closing a candle above it and moving to the upside, not only of that flat level of resistance, but as the ascending level of resistance as well, we've kind of cleared our volume that we needed to on the lower levels. And it is looking like, just looking at VPVR, the next levels of importance are going to be when the volume starts to pick back up dramatically right here in this region between the levels of about 28,600, 500, and maybe even as high as 30,700. So let's keep our eyes on that level. The other reason that this level should be kept in consideration is if I were just to extract this zone over, look at the significance of the amount of price action we had back here between April, May, and even the beginning of June just a couple of months ago. This could potentially be a good top, seeing as that it was a significant play here just about a month ago. As much as I would like to say just keep your eyes fixed on this zone, there is one more zone that might be even more important to be watching right now, and that one we'll find when using Fibonacci retracement on some of these lower levels. So I'm going to go back right here to the peak we had on June 6th, right before we had this fall with this bear flag down to 17,600, and play out what that significant level is. Now, those of you who know about Fibonacci retracement know the golden pocket is one of the biggest factors when using Fibonacci retracement to make a prediction on a potential reversal zone. Not that 0.382 or 0.5 are bad either, but as you can tell, we had enough momentum from the bulls to smash right through those levels. So what I am looking at right now is these levels right here between roughly, let's see the price, about 25,100, 25,300, and roughly about 25,800. Those are the next zones that I'm watching potentially as we get closer here now above 24,000. I'm going to be keeping my eyes very closely on those zones. Now, it's not just Fibonacci retracement telling us to be wary of this. I also, when pulling up my RSI and going all the way down to the hourly chart, which of course, if you guys are following charts, you're going to see things develop on the hourly chart before it develops on the 4-hourly chart, before it develops on the daily chart. But right now, there is a bearish RSI divergence that we have to cover and we have to look at and be aware this could play out putting an end to this little market. Now, at the moment, we're continuing to break through these levels, and that is why being kind of within striking distance of that 25.4, 25.3, I do believe we can make it to that golden pocket, but there's a chance that maybe our momentum stops right there. But it's not just looking at the Bitcoin chart that gives me some concern that Bitcoin might reverse soon. There's another chart, and that is the second thing we have to keep aware of when we're looking at Bitcoin price action over the next week. Real quick, before we get to the second most important thing to be watching for Bitcoin's price, we have a word from one of our favorite sponsors here at the Crypto Jeb channel, and that is Price CPA. He is our CPA that helps us navigate this crypto market, not only to help us navigate the taxes for trading, but also to do some financial planning so we set ourselves up for the best possible financial situation moving forward. Whether you are already worried about your taxes and what you're gonna have to pay in crypto, or whether you haven't even thought about it until you're hearing this right now, you're definitely gonna wanna get a professional involved, because in the past, the IRS has been very laxed on crypto, and that is about to change this next year. Make sure you do not get yourself into any legal trouble. Get yourself an amazing CPA that can be trusted, and Anthony Price is just that guy. Even if you're kind of on the fence and you're not sure if you want one yet, in the link down below, go give him a call for about 20 minutes, absolutely free. Just find out if he's the right one for you. It doesn't hurt anybody. It only helps you. Check out that link in the description down below. But let's go ahead and jump back into the video. The other chart that we have to keep our eyes on, the second thing that is going to be the biggest factor in predicting where Bitcoin goes next, is when we go over to the Dixie chart, or the strength of the US dollar. Now, this morning we did have some news coming from the UK that the British pound is experiencing high inflation itself, and this potentially could be why we've had a couple of green candles here over the last couple of 4-hourly candle motions. But this being said, what we have to pay attention to is that we had been moving up for so long with the Dixie, and now we're starting to come back down. The only problem is, though, is that this is meaning that we are finding some support. So let me go down to the last bottom that we had. We are having ascending levels of bottoms. This is a higher bottom, and when I pull up the RSI, you're going to see over these same timelines, we're descending in RSI. What is this? This is bullish RSI divergence. Now, why is this important? Not only are we seeing reversals in the Dixie price, and we're seeing a bullish RSI divergence kind of confirm it, when looking at the past and comparing the charts of the Dixie and Bitcoin, we see that they more often than not are moving inversely from each other. So every time that you see Dixie go down, more often than not, Bitcoin is moving up. When the Dixie moves up, more often than not, you're seeing that Bitcoin is moving down. This is a rare time where we're actually seeing on the 4-hourly chart some bullish momentum on the Dixie, but in the same timeline, some bullish momentum on Bitcoin. So, what is going to happen? Are we going to see the DXY or Dixie and Bitcoin move up together, or is one of them going to break? Is it going to be Bitcoin, or is it going to be the Dixie? With the fact that we have this bearish RSI divergence down on the hourly chart, and the fact that we are within striking zone of a key level on Fibonacci, which, by the way, a lot of traders and investors use for psychological levels, there's going to be, I think, some pressure to potentially take some profits on Bitcoin around that 25.4 level. The question is, will enough bulls mount enough support to smash through that level and then potentially rally up to hitting closer to 28.5 or maybe even $30,000. So to summarize this entire video, there's not a single human on this planet that knows perfectly what the next move of Bitcoin is. But by looking at these charts and keeping in mind the fundamentals that are in play, we know the two biggest factors right now affecting Bitcoin are the numbers coming from the FOMC next week, and what is the Dixie going to do now that we're seeing the FOMC maybe get a little dovish, but also we're seeing other fiat currencies around the planet have massive inflation as well. These two factors will indicate what Bitcoin's next move is, and we're going to have to wait a whole nother week to see truly how those numbers will affect it. As it stands right now, we never give financial advice here on this channel, and I want you to come up with your own decisions on what you want to do. If you're in a trade or if you're not in a trade, I want to urge you continue to do your own research. As for me, this is not a spot where I necessarily want to be entering any new trades or getting out, because right now the risk to reward ratio is not really where I want it. There's absolutely some explanation for moves to the upside, and there's absolutely some moves to the downsides that would be explained. At the moment, I'm going to sit and watch and wait for more confirmation from the FOMC and continue to watch that Dixie chart, and maybe I'll be entering a new trade here within the next week. Well, that's all I have for you in this video. If you enjoyed it, please smash that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. And once again, leave me your thoughts down in the comments. I want to know what you think, and also what other projects you want us to cover in these videos. With that being said, though, I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Holy cow, you're at the end of the video. You're one of the good ones. I give you a thumbs up. If you want to give us a thumbs up, make sure you do that. And if you're not subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, if you really want extra bonus points, you can comment what you think down below. That's all we got. See you next time.